what I'd like you to do is like just call out the names or tell me what's going on, and then usually you put a check by it so we know where we are. So because I forget who does this, and if that pen doesn't work, then you know I got it. I don't know if that will work. Alright, see, I got these other ones. So,
we just started watching The Wire recently.
Okay, you're gonna drive me home tonight? You wanna
Say the word. I'm ready when you're ready.
It was kind of the first to kind of...
Yeah, you can come in my car.
No car.
Shelly leading it on.
yeah, you're back double check it on your end.
Starting off.
Who's this?
Who's this?
It's my favorite show on
Jimmy Mankin.
Jimmy.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen.
So you can watch
Like you know the other one, I was doing somebody a favor, I got busted.
But I mean, I just watching.
And in this corner, Sacred's intro check short virgin.
Very short.
Virgin. Sacred's intro check, short virgin. I've always had a thing for short virgin. Hear ye, welcome to sacred grounds with what's it?
Just go.
With Dan Brady as the current host of this, the longest running open mic in the known and unknown, Dan Brady! Nothing. They don't love you anymore, Dan. Serving up good food, fine poetry since 1972. Since 1872, we've been... No. Please support the reading by enjoying food and drink served here. Give Teddy a hand, a foot, a left ankle, and a right earlobe. Okay. We like to get everyone on the mic all at once. No. Sacred's longest standing tradition, or sitting still. Running, jumping, and cartoons. The open mic is 4 minutes or so. Less than five. This is because we have two shows, the 7-ish and the 8:40-ish, and the Dr. Seuss out on the street 11:30 by yourself-ish. Going long will cut into someone else's time. Don't do it. Ongoing theme. Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Said Margaret Mead.
Margaret Mead, for God's sake.
The evening's theme is...
The evening's theme is bad poetry.
Bad poetry. Also...
every week.
Every week. I don't know.
We do try.
Next week's feature will be...
Next week's feature will be, let me see if this... Oh, we will be surprised because we will be there. Oh, no. Wait a minute. What date is that? Wait a minute.
That will be the 4th.
Oh, Shizway Siegel.
Oh, we better be here. Shizway.
Shizway Siegel.
The keynote is...
The keynote is... Who the heck is that? Oh, Robert Rubino.
Robert Rubino. Our feature is Greg Pond, who will give the Queen's Wave.
Is he here?
Not here.
All right, he's not
After the second show, the last word will be...
The Cursive Writer.
The Cursive Writer. The mini feature is...
Karen Melander Magoo.
Karen Melander Magoo. And we have... Magoo. And we have fabulous door prizes.
Let me introduce you to some of these fabulous door
Please,
prizes.
do. They are...
Dante's The Divine Comedy, number 2. How do you say it?
Easy for you to say.
Purgatorio, thank you. I couldn't see the red of it. Purgatorio. Models for writers, not the things that are on the cover. And in case you like modern Greek poetry, Greek poetry. There's other things here. This is by, how do you say that guy's name? Thanasis
Nanos Valoritis.
Yeah, he taught us.
One of those guys.
And he taught at San Francisco State.
Thanasis Mascaleras.
Was he? You said he was exiled for Greece. So that happened right after World War II?
More prizes, Dano. More prizes. Stick to the prizes.
No,
Yeah, no, that's it. We're just gonna go.
Okay. So be advised, although we record the evening, if an audience member wishes to do so, please ask permission. We will assume you've done so. We conclude by 9:50. This is Teddy's deadline when we take to the street and go to sleep. No.
All right, give it up for David. Thank you so much, David. He read the most abbreviated version of that. And Robert Rubino, our keynote of the evening. Give him a nice round. Come on, people. Wake it up out there. Haven't done anything yet. Come on. There we go.
Good evening, lovely to be here as always. I have a short quote and a short poem.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it.
The quote is from Jesse Owens. The battles that count aren't the ones for gold medals. The struggles within yourself, the invisible, inevitable battles inside all of us, that's where it's at.
Yes.
The poem is by Tony Hoagland. I don't know how many of you are familiar with him. He
I know that.
died a couple years ago. He was widely published in The Sun magazine. This one is called Real Estate. I don't trust people who overuse the word extraordinary, nor those who tell you how much they adore everything. As in, I adore Susan Sarandon, or this apple pie, or the way you wear your hair. I get lost inside of those exaggerations. The tree will topple under all those promises. The branch will break from all that heavy fruit. Why pretend? Not all human beings are beautiful. People killed by bombs are not automatic heroes. One Tuesday night's unhappiness does not make the world a terrible place. The 4-star general on television says, bombing that city was a serious mistake, but it taught me a lot about myself. Perhaps he should give a medal to his therapist. When I hear how certain people speak, I think of those mansions built along the North Jersey shore that completely block ordinary people from the view of the ocean. I think of the people who call that investment real estate. My heroes are the ones who don't say much. They don't hug people they just met. They use plain language. They stand back and let you see it for yourself. They listen. Wisdom doesn't come to every Californian. Chances are I too will die with difficulty in the dark. If you want to talk about love, why not begin with those marigolds you forgot to water? If you want to see a lost civilization, why not just look in the mirror? Thank you.
Quick announcement.
I just want to make a quick announcement. As you know, the Chinatown is really suffering because we're stuck on stupid. So Clara Sue is doing a performance of the Chinatown Follies on Friday and Saturday. Please give her a call if you want a show so that she gets an idea people are actually going to come because business is down 70%. Her favorite restaurant went out of business. We've lost our minds, of course, usually in this country. I hope we don't boycott North Beach because the Italians now have it. So anyway, I hope you understand my point. Please come and support Chinatown. God damn it, these are our brothers and sisters. And if the coronavirus is coming, it's coming. There's not much you're going to do about it. So run, duck, and cover.
Hey, where is that?
It's at the Clarion Performance Center. Do you have the address?
Sacramento and
It's off.
It's on Sacramento and
Waverly.
Waverly Way. That's right. 2 Waverly Way. And I think it starts at 7.
Yeah.
So give her a call, Clarion Performance Center, and when I have my computer out, remind me and I'll give you her phone number.
What day?
Friday, Saturday.
All right.
This coming Friday.
All right. We'll have him come back and read the phone number aloud.
Numero uno.
All right. Sally Love Saunders, followed by Jimmy Mankind. Give him a round, please. Come on, people. Let's hear it. Make it up. Make it up. Make it up.
You don't need it, but that's all right.
I like to be first because then I can really listen to you all. If I'm not first, I'm sitting and listening, going, oh, what am I going to say? Will my stomach be held in? Will my shoulders be back? So here I am, rough and ready off the streets. Woo! This I wrote this morning, really early in the morning. It's called Effortless Enjoyment. Effortless enjoyment. Sightseeing is fun. Seeing new views and looking at maps and Googling restaurants. But surprising, here we are, just sitting in a humble cafe, not eating, not ordering, just wondering not wondering about around what is around the next bend. Just being here. Nothing to have to discuss, nothing to have to carry, just being here, doing nothing. Doing nothing is sweet and balancing. It just is, and just is enough.
Yeah.
Just is enough. Okay. Management indigestion. So sick of all the maintenance work. Foot, rib, heel, now arm. I am nothing but a body maintenance worker in an uncomfortable uniform. And bloody hours, and the boss of me who's always vexed. Overworked body maintenance worker who just wants to quit and walk off the job. The body will not just say, okay.
Getting organized here.
Pain is gripping me, and its claws, and chopping on me like a mean monster in a film. Me, pain's victim, is very wide-eyed and shivering. Pain monster, please let me go. Please move on. Please, please let me be free. Can you get by there, beautiful?
You know, I'm doing the lousiest job I can do, but I think I'm going to make it anyway.
You got it. I'm
All right.
holding everything. We're good.
Woo! I'm bragging too much. Oh, thank you so much.
Beautiful
Thanks,
music. Beautiful music. Beautiful music ironing me, making smooth my pain, turning me to smooth silk. Beautiful music makes me whole. Potholes. Remembering my bike with very skinny wheels, falling into potholes as a child and young adult. Pothole after pothole. Now I'm 80. And I'm driven places, no bikes to ride, just sitting in a comfortable car being carried around. No bike wheels tripping into potholes anymore. Footprints in the sand. Footprints in the sand, sun creating different shadows depending on time of day. My thoughts casting patterns on my mind depending on the time of day. Sometimes when in sun, patterns are artistic. Back at home at night, deep shadow patterns. Footprints in the sand, sun casts different shadows depending on the time of day. Give myself permission. Now that I'm 80, I give myself permission to not be concerned with not knowing how to work the clock on the kitchen microwave. I'll simply let it be. And so with relationships gone bad, or the one with my brother, which was always bad. A shedding I give myself as a gift of surviving. No more fussing with the unfixable. Now that I'm 80, I will just focus on what works and bring me joy. Aging. I wish aging was a matter of going to a terminal, then returning back, like the trains that go from the city to the country, then back. Oh, you're just the best audience, honestly. I love being up here. You know, Winnie the Pooh talks about his happiness place, which was a step. This is my happiness place, right here with you.
Yeah.
One doctor says twice a day for 2 weeks. My physical therapist says every day do these exercises. Dentist says floss teeth. So many orders. When is there time just to have time to do as I please?
Yes.
Woo! Does that mean it's over?
Yeah.
20 seconds.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Work 'em,
Thank
work 'em,
you.
work 'em.
Jimmy Mankind.
Sorry.
All right.
Hi guys, this is a new one, and it's pretty short for me. It's called This is the War. This is the war for the minds of Americans, the war between style and substance, the war between entertainment and ideas. This is the war between vapid and meaningful, between shallow and deep, between sensation and sense. This is the war by frivolity and its offspring, deprivation, against the future and against the angry avariciousness upon the slowly restricted, retreating, unborn future. How do we elevate this conversation from Keisha to Keynes, from A-Rod to atomic energy, from Kanye, the Wicked Witch of the West, and Beyonce to Marley and Dylan and Woody and Eve Ensler and vagina freedoms that liberate girls from oppression and all of us from our master overseers and our own self-imposed limitations and fears. Oh joy. We elevate by our emphasis on the message and not the messenger. Not so much the modus operandum, but the meaning behind it. Dropping the modus and keeping the operating operators saying something. Can a stripper make a social comment through her art on the oppression of women and girls? Sure. Can a rich man's scion or a trust fund baby bear witness to the perils of the homeless? No way. Sorry, Bill, you cannot feel their pain. You can only use it for your own personal advantage and to feel them up, to assuage your own yearning to be free. More women die in childbirth in Afghanistan than any other nation. That's why we're there, 19 years. It's the worst place to be born in the whole world, according to WHO. Is that why we're there, another 19 years? Can we impose democracy and women's rights at the point of a gun? Malalai Joya says not. She says if people like hers have to earn their own freedom. Is this now the time? This is now the time for us to do it alone, she says. Or is it possible we misuse the arts ourselves to numb ever more the dull consciousness of the myriad and passive de facto supporters of brain-deafening fascism who breed the forms of ennui and irresolution within the minds of the people, even in this educated culture in which we imagine we live. So far, so many are oblivious. Can we, in other words, sing and dance for the oblivious, passive Nazis? Yes, we do. And we can help them sell anything. Any crappy product can employ a Beatles song, like Revolution. Go to Nike. Or the Who's, We Won't Get Fooled Again, by a Nissan. And here comes the new boss, same as the old boss. Huh, that'll be for Bloomberg. Gil Scott-Heron's The Revolution Will Not Be Televised was televised as musical trivia for Great America. as human thought gradually loses its market share and is soon to be discontinued, so everyone would go into cocoons of sex and drinking and drugs, like the drunken frat rat in the taxi, who slurringly, drunkenly tells me, he don't do drugs, he just gets drunk. Like these dirty hippies. Sorry about that. A line I put in, I'm taking out. Stupid. Could artists become part and parcel of the great opiate of the masses? Oh yeah, if only we can get ourselves on TV. And to our place at the table, the splendid redone of the undone, and the done did, we done, so we don't know anymore how to do. We feed the machine by the spunk, if not the spirit. Is that the 5 minutes?
No, you got 40 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I need. We see this emptiness pervading our culture in the fumes that we breathe and the freaky ways that we dance. So why would a poet-artist try to compete with the media to propagate or propagandize more of the banal, and without the gloss of high-tech professionalism to boot? Because from humble sources come eternal verities. From out of the mouths of babes come gems and genes. And this courage brings spirit, not vapidity or titillation, is poetry and the voice of the newborn. Remember, the young woman artist said, her foot on out the door on the sidewalk, leaving my taxi, she turns back and says, being an artist means never giving them what they want.
Young Golden Carl. So you know, so I know, so we know. Oh, our feature of the evening, Greg Pond, is here. Give him a round of applause. Yeah! That's why so many people are here tonight. He packs the house everywhere he goes.
Woo! Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Okay, this is my latest poem. Today begins with a holy sight and writ of always holy, a dance that shouts, Olay, Olay, you rebel gadabout and florist that passed away in front of the Trieste. Today I am peddling with a pen and paper. I dare not know when to offer affront to the many cadavers that have passed in front of me years ago today. Olay shouts the aroused crowd to the torero that walks in the ring with the muleta and sword that scores. This is an oldie. On the beach, I walk by three pretty virgins. Sly Poseidon plays his flute as a tattooed lover musician immerses himself, washes his hair completely in the ocean. I take off my shoes. Cold salt water washes my feet for the first time in years. Dave Hansen freaked out, went nude in the ocean after drinking with me, beer after beer in the beach chalet, after midnight under the moon of drunken dark Neptune.
Yeah. Woo!
Orb. That ball of fire, the sun walks by the sky. My mind sidesteps a small charging minotaur of pleasure. Sunday, quiet as a tombstone, goes back and forth like a doomsday rock, washed over by the waves as flies hug and hover piles of seaweed. Midday plods by like a mule with sun-drenched, contented blinders. Venus and Scorpio. I dream of the perfect romance, love frail as a metaphor, in the queer quiet of the library sea, in the timid streets of the quiet blush of symphonies, cinemas, flowers, wandering like a lovesick drunk dawn under the moon, sitting quietly through the cunning roisterings of the burghers of rhyme, pretending to be alive, walking towards the nine pins calling the cattails. Each poem like a literary void setting out to the brawls at a local tavern. In the sun she dreams of gentlemen dueling in her honor, dueling in her honor. Cinco de Mayo. An electric wail sighs through the wall. Triumphant pizzicato travels like a snake along the traffic, parks up to the quiet ghost of a different muse. Cupid's lips arise to the dance of flashing flamenco heels. Shadow lay senors y senoritas in the smoky quiet of the lateness of the afternoon of the torpid sullen flamenca, passing into the lateness of the cobra-like coilings into the suffering evening. Senoritas, throw a rose from your lace mantilla to the cold gaze of the matador. Muleta poised under his chin in the hot afternoon bull ring, bowing and scraping for a kill. Litany of sound. My spirit races back and forth on the mind of the SS Orizawa, chasing after the ecstasy of Hart Crane's metaphors. A lady on the bus stares at me, lust or anger. My mind rolls in on a porphyro of reason, a large eye staring at the roar of a party. The lake of fire stares to the eye of storm blood. My mind becalmed there in the eye of the eternal calm of midday doldrums. The eye of the dragon poises on the eyelids of a grain of sand at the calm of the end of a brackish day. Thank you very much.
40 minutes. 40 seconds. Read another one. 40 seconds. No? All right.
Yeah, do another short one. No, do it.
A shorty.
All right. Let's see. I'll write another.
Time's up.
Hidden dreams. Sleep night of darkness of the clouds, O Regina of the world of words, apart from the choking industrial sun of every day, marking time hanging onto a bus strap. Walk away for me, away from me, O voyeur of empty space, a shower of arrows from my Lilliputian blondness, as my hair of my blunders is tied down to their hogsheds. Step to the usual, to the everyday. My mind eye, a dark invisible Gulliver, taking a giant step to nowhere, tracing my mind to a lofty invisible cobweb dandling down, its space leading to infinity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carl? After Carl is John Kerr. Or John Kerr.
Oh yeah, okay, so Carl, then John Curl, then Edward, then Guy.
That's it?
Rolling it up. Just really, get really close to the mic there.
Okay. I'm a sandwich, not a mic. So this is bad poetry night, is that it?
Yeah,
Well,
that's
the
what they
theme
said.
is bad
That's you.
poetry. But it's always bad poetry.
You roll over.
Well,
Here.
I think it's just prose, it's not, I think it's free verse. but- Anyway,
But I'm always
it's not really poetry.
wasting your time.
There we go.
That's the fun part. So, another couple of episodes from the ongoing story of Floyd Thursby. This one's called About the Bread, Chapter 12. I just got the news our baker has been run out of town by the street gang. And by mid-March, our prices for the muffaletta bread and the sourdough round are going to double. The olive round for Corinne's smoked turkey will probably triple. AI can only go so far. You can automate most of this, But you still got some folks from the Bakers of Paris operation that will need some help. Maybe some of the rainbow people can collectively help. Everybody eats bread. Let them eat bread. Working together, we can work things out. There have been some foodie success stories here in Baghdad by the Bay, said Floyd. Can a guild of tech-savvy master bakers succeed in Donald Trump's America? What would Jane do? The basic rule of natural law is abundance. America has been and always will be great. Trump or no, what we need is to make America free again. Free this, free that, a free frame of reference. Information wants to be free. Free for all, free love. And as they say in the South, every breath is free. At the food pantry, they say peace on earth and food for all. Sam thought about it. It could be. If worse comes to worse, we can always go to Sacred Grounds and have a salad or entree instead of a sandwich. Remember to tip and thank Teddy. So that was chapter 12. This is chapter 13, and I would call them episodes, but you know, chapter 13 kind of makes sense. Everyone is blaming the internet for business problems, said Robert Jadot, the guy that ran Bakers of Paris. But a big factor is the price of the lease. We have many clients, like ourselves, who don't want to leave, but they don't want to work for the landlord, so they have to close down. We have no home to bake. We are a homeless bakery, he concluded. The fact that Bay Area landlords are authorized to force individuals and small businesses to the street is not right. That's a quote from Hoodline. How come all the too big to fail corporations get a free pass and everybody else gets to suck it? I only ask these three questions of all you postmoderns, baby boomers, millennials, Gen X, Y, and Zers, and anybody else. Does America love fascism now? Does it matter? What did grandfathers die for anyway? Want to discuss it? I'm a U.S. American born at Oak Ridge after the Second War to end all wars. So did all the fascists and Nazis just move here and take over after the Great War? Well, I want to know, I really want to know. Have I got any time left?
You got 40 seconds.
Okay. Postscript. This is a little something I tacked on at the end. I hope it's not too bad. I was talking with a beautiful, intelligent Asian American woman about the perils of Teflon and sulfur, what was it, SF6 we talked about the other, yeah. After I confronted her with some of the facts about Teflon, she actually said, well, I'm not planning on having any children. Without thinking, she said that to defend her position as she uses Teflon pots and pans at home, and she obviously plans to use them in the future. Are birds the most evolved of creatures? They've been around a lot longer than the genus Homo. My two parakeets gave their lives to save me from Teflon. Fuck DuPont's profits.
Yeah, baby.
John Carl? Oh, I know you. I know you. I know this guy. Give her a nice round, please. When I saw the name, I didn't.
Yeah, he needs to go up, huh? This, how you do it?
Just hold this down and pull that down. Just like that.
Okay. That's too much. There you go. All right.
What's wrong with this country? Open up again. You who've been so hurt, trust. Take the risk of being hurt again. Truth is painful, but when it doesn't kill you, it's healing. That pain in her smile, that grief in her eyes, only the betrayed can see it. Only the forlorn can feel it. Only the forsaken can understand it. You've been there, haven't you? I know you have. I can feel it in your bones. Her pain, you recognize her anguish as your own. Try to run, you can't run. Try to hide, you can't hide. You can't run, you can't hide from a broken heart. Why me? I didn't deserve this. A false friend, a wounded lover, abandoned, denying the obvious. America is suffering. She shrank into her fists, swore she'd never forget, never leave herself so vulnerable, innocent, open, unconditional, swore she'd never love this way again, ever again. America is suffering from a broken heart. Who broke it? So many times, in such cruel ways. We know some of the abuses, the whispered tales, the secret trysts, but not the many sordid histories she keeps still hidden deep beneath so many layers of misplaced shame. How do you heal a country? How do you heal a country with a broken heart? Palette knives. An artist can never remove anything from a canvas. You can only add to it. Even when you take a palette knife and scrape off the paint, you are still adding to it. That's what Charlie DiGiulio, an old artist friend of mine, said back around 1967. Our lives are like that. We can't erase mistakes. We might wish we had done things differently, apologize, or try to make restitution for wrongs we've done to others, words thoughtlessly spoken. We cannot withdraw them, just as we can never erase the great crimes and injustices of history, war, conquest, slavery, make them to have never happened. Our past words and acts can never be undone, no matter how much we might wish to. We can never remove the past. What happened, happened. Words once spoken, acts once acted, are forever. We exist only in this moment, with our memories of the past, which may or may not be what actually happened, and our dreams of the future. A hand appears and writes on the wall. Okay, I'll finish with identity politics. At the State Park Visitor Center, I stopped at the installation with a painting of a mountain lion, coyote, hawk, deer, rabbit, and mouse, and I read, "We work to maintain the ecological balance between the predator population and the prey population." It wasn't their jaw-dropping arrogance that bothered me, it was their categories. That's obviously how whoever is running the State Visitor Center thinks of us. But that's sure not how we think of ourselves. We rabbits and deer and mice are not prey population. We are the quick and the wily, with the good sense to choose flight over fight when we see you coming. We too honor our dead heroes, but we don't call our family live cowards. You don't know who we are, but we know who you are. You who straighten the knot on your tie, preen yourself in bank mirrors, fancy yourself looking so fine. You and your cohorts who are running this world into a toxic dump. You, the powerful, the deciders, the alphas. We know who you are. You are the predator population, and we're keeping an eye on you.
Oh! And you, young girl, we're going to have an on-deck chair because we're past 30 people on the list right now, so we're going to try to smooth things up. Who's it?
Ed is Guy.
Guy. Oh, Guy's right there, so he's all right. Who's after Guy?
Oh, okay.
Tommy. Okay, after Guy.
Okay. This is good, huh? Okay, Ruby. My dead birds, my stone boats. Curried cities burning in the bowels, dust, disorder, mud in the eyes, crowding in the ears, the tongue too thick for words, for language and a vice sky. Peeling the unpainted dream churning, and swarming in the body hair, laughing, mumbling, confiding, weary with the world we want to change, dogs between your legs puking, raising arms that gesture, what's the use? And that's the thing. Frail bodies, corrupted needs, an old man on a chair, swollen bellies peeing babies in the dirt, urine, the color of happiness, endurable as the sun, as far away as cauterizing. We sniff our own sweat, we bathe in going on and on, drooling roads for our mechanical feet. And tomorrow, and the trees still grow across the sea, haunting with another green these brittle years. And words, words, words. We are poor gardeners without our plot of land, but we are floating and we swim. You bet the sharks can swim. Oh, cousins, there are no garlands for the dead, only blue blood on this privileged page. My dead birds, my stone boats. Thank you.
That's my cue, ladies and gentlemen. And Tommy's coming up. Guy now, then Tommy. Oh no, it's Guy now. You're on the sorry. This is the on-deck chair here. We have an actual real place for people to try to speed up the transformative process. I'm gonna stop talking.
Good. Never.
I'll believe that when I hear it.
Yeah.
That's what my mom said.
Yeah, when you don't, yeah.
This one's for Rob. Bad poetry. I'm taking everything out of my mind, laying it on the bed. Place of sleep, dreams, love, now a loaded workbench. Before I put things back in, I'll measure, see if they fit, see if I still need or want them, and see if they'll go back in. A psychic told me to vacuum out my mind, assured me it was okay to be empty. She retired after our conversation. How did they even do that, psychics? I haven't gardened in 30 years, but my hand still curls around a weed in the loamy pot of petunias as I wait for you to answer the door. Instincts don't recede. The voices go quiet. Meanwhile, I'm going to need a place to sleep tonight. My bed is most mindful. My mind is not. I look at the memory of you sweeping the floor, skipping out the door. I remember breaking up a fight on the dock, how anger felt when the iPhone video was turned on me, shoved in my face. I recall the finish line of the marathon, that jackrabbit start, ill-advised, staggering across with nothing left to prove, mind all but empty. I call the psychic back to see if that's what she meant, to verify a possible aha moment. Her number no longer in service. The sun is setting. I look for paper, pen, my camera among the stacks of memories, the files of false starts, the Crown Royal bag of seeds, and a pocket knife. Tonight's sky's a beauty. I've seen it before, but I can't remember. Climbing to the roof empty-handed, tonight's sea looks nothing like it did last week. Waves rolling in hard, anger, just bad poetry, projected. Wednesday, a poet spoke between a mic and an upright Hoover. It's the vacuum I can't get out of my head. Fresh sheets is what I'll need, but my walk-in closet is now clean as a whistle. Already filling up, though, as that tide rolls in.
And now it's time to call the McCook. Give him a round, please. David, you're up on the chair.
Okay, this one's for the theme. A badass poem. A poem sprouted from a bad seed. A poem from the bad side of town. A poem with a bad attitude. A poem with a bad case of the blues. A good poem gone bad. Too bad for the poet who doesn't understand. If it ain't bad, it ain't good. Ding dong, the monster's dead. Which monster you add, you might ask? The monster at 16th and Mission. The 350 market rate condos they were going to build at 16th and Mission.
Oh, they killed it?
It's dead. The project's dead. The developer is...
Oh, it's won!
We won. No monster in Mission. I was part of the group that fought it. 7 years and we won. They're selling it to a non-profit developer. We will hopefully have 100% affordable housing at 16th and Mission.
Wow!
The monster is dead. The monster who threatened to erase the lives of families who have lived in the old buildings for generations. Immigrants who just arrived full of dreams. Queers who fled here for sanctuary. The music that's always in the air, even when you can't hear it. The fruit and vegetable stands on the always crowded sidewalks. The laughter of elders standing on the streets talking. The noisy children racing home from school. The man in the plaza with the music box playing sweet 50s jazz. You know him. The poets in the cafes. Those who line outside the old movie houses. The activists who have watched the heart and soul of a city being gutted by one monster after another. This one is dead, brought down by a community that won't go willingly into that long, silent night. And finally, if you have not seen Hotel 22, Google it. It's a video about a bus that runs all night in the Silicon Valley, and the homeless basically sleep in the bus and keep riding it until they can't ride it anymore. Hotel 22. No laying down, no putting your feet on the seats, the driver says. The old man's head falls forward in sleep. The deep wrinkles in his face are Nazca lines. Other heads hidden by oversized hoods and blankets press against windows or each other. These are the homeless passengers of Hotel 22, as it's called, the bus that runs through Silicon Valley all night, every night. A cop comes aboard at the last stop, walking the aisle as they head out, eyes shedding the remnants of sleep or dreams or both. It's not long before the big buses bring in tech workers oblivious to those who walk the cold morning with nothing but what they can carry on their backs. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to pass this around. I'm doing 2 free performances next weekend, as in March 6th and 7th.
All right.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next.
And it's David, and who's after David? Oh, me. Okay, okay.
5 minutes.
All right, bad poetry. Crates of hippos, hippo crates, Hippocrates, consumed of late. First do no harm, next do no shame. Elongate, change, refine a name. Yes, when flirting makes me laugh, the river horse is in the bath. That's bad. Was that bad enough? Every time I say flirting, my grandson just breaks out in laughter. So, private joke there.
Flirting?
Flirting. You seek for me free cover, recover secondhand. Light blue, dark blue, the clouds peek through, above, beyond the sand. I hesitate to call this sheet, which covers body, hands, and feet, anomaly or in between. Elusive verse slips out of scene. Dreams congeal, yay, shift about. Veils of mist, without a doubt. Impossible love, pinned to mat. When sorting signs of this and that, mayhem settles, sunset cools, then put away our mental tools. Heart enjoins with soul at last. We join the future to the past. In an instant, we are gone, or here forever in a song. Heart is just inverted tush, where hips and thighs begin to push. To touch down heart, you must pass deep within the trust that never sleeps. The wind keeps trying to catch me, the spool unraveling thread. Even when I am humbled, a swelling inflates my head. Differentiate emotion from truth. Forsaken, forgotten, for searching, forsooth. Don't be bedeviled by language or enlarged by my own good deeds. It is still a chore missed by many. Separate want from need. How much time? 2 minutes.
Does this mean I have a ticket to ride?
Let's see if I'm framed in there. There we go. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I like to say I'm always sorry to be here, not because, never mind. So this is from a workshop. It's called The Approximation of Friendship. They gave me a list of words and I had to make a poem out of them. That way you'll understand that when you hear it. Anyway, here we go. Making one honestly true blue dragon would be amazing enough. But if your homework was to make a whole darned universe full of them, well, you'd be wanting help. But a wizard couldn't do it. You'd need a god to whom this whole job would be like unto the movement of a sand grain, tiny and unseen, inadvertently swept out over a door sill. God's, not yours. Where it would become affixed to the pink goo on a lost watermelon seed that had been lying there in the dappled shade of the infinite back porch for some time. And although that story might go on and on and on, which it does, your phantom crisis would thus come to an end, and your head could settle into your fluffy pillow, all comfy cozy, whereupon you'd snuggle into sleep. Sweet dreams would go a-dancing in your head, and your heart would ease into wonderful serenity. And now, sometimes poems, they come and you just wonder, where did... Anyway, I was watching a movie, and the movie had nothing to do with this, but never mind. Somewhere beyond the sea. Oh, say, let's go to a beautiful place, somewhere away, far, far away, beyond the sea, and beyond what's there, to a lovely shoreline where a broad and meandering strand is windswept and rippled clean, and breeze snaps, its air bracing, where ranks of smooth waves roll forward, then curl before the sublime water washes in and over to sweep away everything with reflections of everything. Oh, I say, let's find such a place, for we are in need of a quiet place where sweet winds hail and shade beckons, where cool clouds loft above the hills and their tree lines, where, from a dune's height, and at a goodly distance, we detect the movement of an indistinct figure, slowly, quietly strolling, alone in this vast scene, who then stops as we observe to look out upon the watery colors of both sky and sea, and makes something of a gesture, by which means we know this one seeks yet a farther and further quiet and beautiful place. For there are echoes and memories still too much, far too awfully much to bear, even with all this time and in all this wonderfully beautiful and peaceful space. It's as if he or she knows that in the greater world, objective deduction has become useless, reason rejected, and corruption creates culture, forming a future of lies. And I tell you now, I reject this utterly. There may be only us here and now, yet this matters not a jot, for the truth is here and now. It becomes us ever more so, here and now. A line is drawn, and if we have to fight that future, so be it. On and on. Centuries, millennia, making no difference to the truth. Thank you.
And now over, we're going to give him a round, and then we have Martin. Are you ready? Where are you? You want to raise that up a bit?
I got it.
David, I want to thank you 1,000 times. Shh. Oh, Jesus.
Poetry in Motion, a handful of free samples. Jesse Owens sprinting and jumping to golden glory at Hitler's propaganda games. And speaking of splendid and sublime, how about Cassius coolly slipping Sonny's blackout bombs Poetry in Motion. Nepali Sherpa Tenzing Norgay climbing step for step with Edmund Hillary to Everest's peak. And speaking of mountain high, how about Laird Hamilton surfing 60-foot ocean waves? Poetry in Motion. Will the Thrill Clark's strong, sweet swing at a belt-high fastball. And speaking of thrilling hard bop swing, how about the balanced blending of Basie's big band? Poetry in Motion. The Dominican dandy Juan Marichal's wind up as dandy in the 16th inning as in the first. And speaking of getting your high kicks, how about any ballet boasting of Baryshnikov? Poetry in Motion. Any march for civil rights, women's rights, workers' rights, tenants' rights, immigrants' rights. And speaking of righteousness, how about any anti-war, anti-gun, anti-Trump gay pride parade? Poetry in Motion. Astaire and Rogers quick-stepping in cinematic sync and style like the dynamic duo of dance. And speaking of excellence, exquisite, Ginger did it backwards while wearing high heels. Poetry in Motion. Thank you.
Thank you. It's you. All right. And this is Martin Joseph. Keep reminders down as he comes up. I'll introduce the teacher, and then we will outrageously. I'm stopping. All right. Dieseling over here. I thought.
Good evening, Sacred Grounds.
Good evening. Just Martin's also. We got 6.
This one is called In the Resistance 2020. It is true. We have our differences, but it doesn't matter. There's a bigger thing happening, bigger than any of us, bigger than all of us together, very likely. It's been going on since way before we were born. It's been going on under our noses, and we just tried to get along and live our daily lives. We'd hoped that our Goldilocks time might seem like forever, that it would stretch from horizon to horizon, at least of this lifetime. We dreamed of epic sunsets looking out over the peaceful ocean at the underside of a panorama of cirrus clouds painted spectacularly by the setting sun. Hundreds of shades of orange and yellow, fuchsia and mauve and rose, and so many in between that we do not have names for them. These spectacular, epic times where we can imagine even brighter times for future generations with whom we have a thin connection that runs through our blood, that runs through our minds, that runs through the ways that we simply interact. A Tower of Babel through which we try to share our souls, underpinned by the light, the color of water that reflects whatever shades we give it. Cousin John told us that the love we take is equal to the love we make, and that is surely a part of it. Here in the Resistance, we do what we can. We know that the entire Enlightenment may end up as just a flash in the panorama, but that's okay. It's our flash. It's not about the million-man marches, although that is a part of it. It's about being awake. It's about carrying on, about measuring and making the difference. It is about meaning something that will mean something, that will mean something, that will mean something, that will mean something to someone else who awakens. The one-eyed person blinking in the sandstorm of illusions created by the boiler shop minions of the men behind the curtain. Don't worry about it. We've got it covered. We will survive, at least for a while. When it comes your time, you will too. Allen Ginsberg went before us. The Dadaists went before us. The 5-cent Hershey bar went before us. The morning bagel, the smell of fresh coffee in the pot, the sweet taste of air coming in and going out.
Wait a minute. Is it morning again? Oh, yes. I see. Now I am you.
Take a look at this house, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at it.
That's for Greg.
I'm telling you, this is what I'm saying. Pack of the house, you know, they pack of this house. Great pond. Talked about him in public. I will not mention the proverbial lampshade incidents.
Oh,
He's laughing, so he remembers, but it's word to the place. I first came across Greg at one of Sally's events, and then he started coming here and wowing the crowds, as it were, as they say. It's a beautiful voice he has. You could say he has a narrative element to what he does, tells stories, takes you to where his experience is. He brings out the heart of us in his heart. There's a translation there, and there's only one word in that language. He speaks that word very well. He brings it here. He's reflective, intuitive, a crashing being of justice. That's somebody else's quote. I don't know, it's not mine. So, rather than listen to me, you don't have to do that much. We're going to hear Greg Pond hold forth before us. Give him a rousing round of applause for Mr. Greg Pond, one of the finest poets in San Francisco's poetry open mic scene. We're going to say some out of publication with.
Come on, I don't hear it. I don't hear it.
About like this, or like that. See if that's good. Oh yeah, it's perfect.
Wow. Thank you. Welcome, family and friends. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to share with you, I've got a lot of new things. I've got a couple from my books, but mostly new things. So
Did you bring books with you?
I did bring some books, yes. So there will be those afterwards. So anyway. I'm tired. He said, I'm tired, old and black, but not necessarily in that order. Seen more blues than the indigo sky and royal sea put together, but they never got the better of me. Been struck by white lightning, been beat up more than once by the system, by daily living, by policeman's club. Been stoned by hail and burned by the sun, done lost more time than you ever could believe. And all that I've won is a temporary reprieve, a moment to rest and catch my breath before the winter's breeze tries to steal this flimsy cardboard that provides my only shield, covering me for one more night as I try my best to survive these cold and homeless streets. Pearly moon. I watched it in an evening sky, a tiny pebble from another world, luster on black fabric between slats of perfectly parallel Venetian blinds. Full moon glowing like a floating pearl against the velvet of the night. This next poem is a little odd because I wrote it way after I had need to. It's entitled Saturday Barbershop. And as you can see, I have had no need to go to a barbershop in many years. But anyway, Saturday barbershop. Saturday barbershop, all afternoon spent wondering how soon, waiting for who's next, counting the line of eager brown heads all ahead of mine. A Nubian parade on storefront display. Some come, some leave, Covadis, curl, perm, dreads, afro, textured, kinky, clean. Off in the background, a distorted TV blares play-by-play of this week's HBC varsity football affair. Muslim brother in bow tie tries to hawk the final call, bean pies and foil-wrapped packs of incense to anyone willing to buy. Lively conversation, loud, often intense, sometimes gets out of joint, arguing about politics, sports, women, or some point someone's making or missing. Often best to just listen and let it rest, or quietly peruse through an old magazine stack, Ebony, Sports Illustrated, Essence, or Black Enterprise, maybe the latest jet. Thick slices of woolly hair fall like potato peels down apron capes, shaved from the nape of craning necks. While in one corner, a quartet of gents fret back and forth over a 51 card deck. Shop owner's large, steady hand tilts down booster seat occupant squirming crown. Then everybody turns around as a fine lady enters decked in brown and tan, asking how much for a quick trim and to tame the mane on her little man, who obediently sits with action toy, watching and wishing he could join the other boys, cutting up and making noise. And in the midst of all of this, your favorite barber's youngest kid brings him a takeout plate. Cornbread, greens, potato salad, and baby back ribs. Now you'll have to wait while he takes a break to watch the game and eat. You can come back later in an hour, maybe half, but you might lose your place as well as your seat and wind up getting served last. Saturday barbershop is one of the few places left for a black man to reflect, to get some of life's stress and strife off his mind and chest. Each weekend, customers, friends, and wannabe philosophers extend shout-outs, window waves, or just stop for a clip or to chit-chat the afternoon away at the Saturday barbershop. Thank you. Another short one. Old Oak Love. I'll be loving you long past the day when the old oak gives its green away and its roots are no longer suitable enough to sustain its upright stay. The old oak will one day have wilted, shriveled, and dried, with leaves wrinkled to gray. But I'll be loving you long past every night and far on the other side of always. Black flag. How could it be that as black people we seem to have lost so much of our fire and steam? Though we've survived and thrived many trials and centuries, we sleep but don't always dream. And whenever we take the time to rest, it's often restlessly. Brought to serve like chattel, to help build the home of the brave, but in this land of milk and honey, where we're still treated like cattle, there's no synonym for the word slave. emancipated on paper in 1863, but that don't mean we're free, as conditions in our communities continue to keep us on our knees and leaves us out of touch with ourselves, with each other, and too often, reality. Our culture got stripped. Pride and dignity took a hit in early American times. Reconstruction led to Jim Crow, with no defense against the swinging ropes of Ku Klux Klan crimes. Temporarily cut from the lynching tree, we hit our stride in those 60s dreams, sitting in on picket lines, but it seems we lost it again in the embers of last century's end. We're left precariously balanced on one foot with a noose around our necks. We're seen by some as inferior, barely second best at best. But what's even more distressing, we've convinced ourselves and others that we deserve much less. Some seek satisfaction from distractions, social media, reality TV, cyber sex. Meanwhile, we're dying from the effects of high blood pressure, poverty, diabetes, and stress. And our babies are the latest poster kids for the prison industrial complex. So when you look at our present state, where our fate lies is anyone's guess. In the meantime, we no longer rely on we. We used to trust, but now not so much, for moral support or makeshift lean. So now we're headed down Schitt's Creek in the wrong direction with no life vest, when we should be sailing upstream, cutting our own slice of the common pie, not accepting less, but expecting the best, welcoming joy and success in our lives. The melanin we share absorbs but also reflects the pains and joys our ancestors bore and the fate of what comes next. Not sure where we'll go from here, though there's little time to rest. We need a redirection to establish a better connection. Maybe a cultural resurrection can help reignite our fire before the flames expire and we're just sitting ducks, proverbial birds on a wire, getting picked off one at a time by racist cops or anyone who's got no respect for the matter of Black lives. Let's use our heads instead to strengthen our hearts, souls, and minds. Let's stand together united and raise our Black flag high.
Oh.
Anti-fascists married Uncle Sam. Anti-fascists married Uncle Sam. And they should have known early evidence would show their marriage would be a disaster. She tried to teach him how he should treat a spouse, but he demanded to be her master. Shortly after their engagement, he began to build an imperial nation by instilling race, class, capital status in order to determine societal place. That should have been a red flag for her, but she married him anyway. Then he grew cold, hard, and callous, shut her down so she'd have little to say. Although she tried to turn on the lights so the error of his ways could be seen in plain sight, he ignored her attempts for any insight or enlightenment and defiantly pulled down the blinds. Then Uncle Sam, with his arrogant ass, decided the rich and powerful should get a pass, and unlike the poor, working, and middle class, they should pay very little or nothing in tax. Then he said, let's separate those we'll tolerate from those we'll refuse, from those we'll use, from those we hate. Because let's face it, we can't love everybody if we want to make America great. Again. Finally, it seems that Auntie's fighting back. She's ready to unleash this totalitarian strap and click the combination that springs this trap. Our dear anti-fascist is no longer having it. Every day I hope she gets a little closer to divorcing that nasty capitalist. Last Friday at Sam Jordan's. It was the last Friday before the closing of Sam's. A live funk band played Pass the Peas. Another plate of fried chicken and round of drinks. Please stay for the last jam session starting at 11. As another black landmark closes its doors forever after decades of Bayview presence. The people came from near and far, some casual, some dressed to impress by Muni, Uber, and Shooting Star, pressing their bodies up against the bar and each other like the fine sister and her mister, a cool brother, trying to order rum and coke, gin with tonic water. You know, this ought to be the beginning of any other weekend in the city of St. Francis, but instead, it's last call, last stand, last chance to toast, maybe dance at this, the last Friday bash at Sam's, who, in case you didn't know, was a Navy vet, prize fighter, community activist, and first black to run for mayor in San Francisco. Now, I hadn't planned to stay too long, but then decided to hang for just a few more songs, just so I could pay my last respects to Sam. Though Sam's been dead for several thousand days, his spirit lingers on a side street that continues to bear his name, lined with double-parked cars, an homage to the closing of San Francisco's oldest black-owned bar and grill. I wonder if Sam were here still, would he sit silent and tame, while so many black folks are forced to flee Hunter's Point to end up lost on the streets or across the bay, and once they're gone to stay. Well, maybe it's just as well Sam's not here to see how quiet the nights become by end of day. The doors are now closed. The whiskey congregation will meet no more for gatherings of laughter in Southern-style plates. But years of memories will forever remain in a special place near the corner of 3rd Street and Sam Jordan's Way. Thank you. Home Alone. I'm a solo homo sapiens, a star slowly fading from sight. I'm home and all alone on the range, a stranger in the middle of night. I'm a slow game of poker, trying to decide which cards to play. Holding a royal flush and joker, hiding my hand with deadpan face. I'm a cool shower or hot soak, a clear statement or murky riddle. I'm an up after hours, stay at home, one and only homie in the middle. I'm an endangered black man. I live with a bull's eye on my back. I'm a break a few rules, old school papa. I got the fever and a brand new bag. I'm a bitch, a fairy, a fruit, and a fag. I'm all the taboo names they say. I've been homo, sissy, and butch, queen, and drag, marching in the rainbow flag parade. I'm a black cat poet activist. I'm a senior seeking change. I'm a seasoned Homo sapiens, burner of the midnight flame. I'm a hometown, homegrown, homebody, hanging home alone on the range.
You just saw quality, kindness, consideration, depth, and movement. It's a beautiful thing. Greg Pond. He has books over there. We're going to take a very short break. It's going to be 5 or 6 or 7 minutes, something like that, because we have a full second list. Great second show coming up. So please talk to Greg, Schmooze, and we shall be back when the timer goes beep, 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 beep.
Wow, thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Be good. Be careful. You too.
Sometime again soon.
Yes.
Next level, right?
Yes, we will plan it. We'll sit and we will make fun of people as we walk by. They won't know we're doing that.
Find a bus stop that doesn't have a bus.
That's
Yeah, that's